welcome, Charlie.
Thank you so much for having me here, Sonia.
Thank you for
I'm
being
so
here.
excited. This is awesome.
Yeah, I know. This is amazing. We love Sweven and the space that it's provided to us
Yeah,
to record today.
it's so cool.
So, Charlie, the first
Yes.
time I saw you,
Yes.
I felt like I met you before.
Yes.
But I didn't really know when or where.
Mm-hmm.
But it felt like a very warm welcome from you.
Yeah.
I felt that I can trust you.
Yeah, amazing.
We kind of realized that we've seen each other
Yeah.
before in
View from the
Mount Creek.
mountain.
But regardless, we didn't really know each other, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So I've seen that you can give that warmth welcome to others. So I wanted to ask you, what has been able to bring you to this space
Yeah.
where you can do that and make everybody feel so great?
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for saying that. That's so great to hear. Yeah, I think it's interesting when we start to become more aware, we become more energetic. So you can just feel things sometimes. Like we didn't know, but we had this feeling like, hey, like this is familiar, you know? So I think what has helped me get to where I am today, where I can just walk into a place and meet someone for the first time and they can feel that way. I think it first off requires that person to be in that space where they're connected to themselves. Because that's not always the response that people get when they see me too, all right? I'll tell you I've had some crazy experiences. But I think what I hear you speaking to is the ability to feel connected and safe and to feel like you can trust someone before you even know how you really feel that way. And I think that it's been my journey of really being able to clean out the density in my life and really be able to step back into my soul and live from my truth and my resonance where this is the truth, this is it. And I think that when you know the truth and you live the truth, it sets so many people free. And I think that's what you're speaking to is that feeling of like, whoa, I feel safe here. I feel the love here. It feels good here. And like, I think that's truly coming from someone being able to be a pillar of light that allows other people to feel their own light. And together, that connection is what creates that safety and that feeling.
I'm sure you also have to get to the point where you feel confident about who you are.
Yeah.
To be able to allow the other person to also show their own light, right?
Yes, of course. That's such a big thing. Of course, yes. Confidence is huge. And I think that comes from being connected to yourself, being connected to, like you said, your I am consciousness. I'll get into like what that is a little bit later. And really just being in your heart, being in your soul, right? That's what we're doing. We're connected back to our soul because that is what's already complete. That is what's whole. And when you are whole and you are complete, you have no competition. You're not worried. You're not insecure. The human might be in moments, but you're connected to your soul. So you can come back to you. You can come back to your resonance. And when you live in that and you're able to come back to that, that is what you're speaking to, I believe, is that ability. And then people are able to feel that way too. It's like there's no competition here. There's no worry here. It feels all good. And that's just light reflecting light.
That's amazing because it took me a long time to get to a point where I feel that I can tap into my light and let everybody see that with no fear of judgment or maybe I had a fear of people thinking it's too much.
Yep. Yes.
And especially speaking with somebody like you that can see that and accept that is also a great feeling to have.
For sure. I think it's so great to feel that, to feel seen and feel like, okay, I can do this. There's someone that gets it. Because like what you're speaking to, this is not an easy journey to get where you've now arrived or where now I've arrived, right? There's people sometimes look at where we are and look at the light and see the light and they're just like, oh, that person just got it. They're so blessed. It's like, no, we've been through this wisdom and this wisdom came from a journey that was really challenging, came from many moments where I didn't know myself, where I didn't have it all figured out, where I did feel very insecure. And it's about how you integrate those moments, how you move through those moments. And again, what we'll talk about today, how you are connected to it and you move through it, you process it. It literally alchemizes within you. So you're turning the shadow, the fear, the insecurity into light, and you are light. So you're bringing all of that back in. It's like nobody can take that from you when you do that work, you know? So that's why it can feel very lonely sometimes when you do this journey, or you're like, am I the only one that gets it? Because it's a very hard, it's a very uncomfortable process to go through as a human. But when you do it, you get to live the life that you live now, which is feeling this joy, feeling this love, feeling this confidence, which most people say they want, but aren't willing to do the work to really become in themselves.
Absolutely. You have to put in the work. I agree. Okay, so I want to dive into the topic for today, but before that, give us a quick summary of your background.
Yeah.
And how you got here today.
Awesome. So, like you said, I am a consciousness guide. So, a consciousness guide, what is that, right? We are consciousness. We are energy. Consciousness and energy are interchangeable. They're synonymous to the same thing. And that is what we are. We are that inside of the human body. So, as a consciousness guide, I'm helping the human that you are come back to their awareness of what you actually are. That's why when you spoke about introducing me, you said she's a consciousness guide that helps you connect back to your soul so you can remember who you really are. And that's the point. We're all here on earth living this journey because we chose to be here. Many people aren't aware of that. And when you become aware of this information, you have to remember everything I'm going to be telling you guys tonight, you already know. I'm serving as an activator to help you remember, as you just said. So that's really the guidance I serve, is that I work with people in many different ways. I'm a life coach, like you said. I have my Project Align business, which is a movement-based holistic workout, which we'll get into. There's all these different sectors, but no matter what platform I'm guiding people through, it's this type of work that they're receiving, whether it's a movement, a workout, a breathwork class, a coaching session, a business retreat. This is all the same work. And that's really understanding that everything is energy in life. So that's my job, is to help people navigate their human journey, to know that it does not matter what you've been through in your life. It doesn't matter how bad it seems to be. It doesn't matter what disease you now have. It doesn't matter how much money you now have in your bank account. You can do this as long as you believe. And I'm here to help you remember how. I'm here to help you release all of the illusions, all of the fears, all of the things you've been identifying with, so that you can come back to your I am consciousness. Energy works in that way. Whatever you say I am, and you follows I am, is what you truly become. So that is how energy works in the human realm. This is literally how the human works. And so what we talk about today, the topic is how to align your mind, body, and soul. And why is that important? Because you're a consciousness inside of the human body. And if you don't know how to navigate the human, this is going to be a very challenging journey. But the human's designed beautifully and perfectly, and there is a way to this. It's called quantum healing and quantum physics. And also in any type of doctors, like, we all know this, you know? So the work that we're going to talk about tonight is really helping people understand that there is a blueprint to the journey that you're living. And if you understand how to work the blueprint, how you understand how to master this game of life, you will not suffer. Yes, things will be challenging. Yes, things will be hard, but you'll know who you are, and you'll be able to navigate every single thing that comes your way, so that you are continuously living the life you were born to live and not creating cul-de-sacs in your life, because we don't have to do that.
So you mentioned the term I am
Yes.
a lot, right? And a lot of people don't really know who they are.
Yeah.
And it might take them a long time to get to the point where they need to start questioning and understanding who they are, where they came from. But I'm sure when they are ready, they would come to you, and that you would help them understand that.
Exactly.
Basically.
Yes. And then I'll give you a little bit of a background of how I came into this work, so you can understand how I can be of service in that way, because there's many things that people can say, but everything that I'm speaking about are things that I live, and this is who I am, literally. So my journey as a child, I came into this world and my parents got divorced when I was 3. They were best friends. They were amazing. But, you know, the things that were going on in my dad's life, he wasn't able to integrate his trauma, the things he went through. And so that then spread over to how he parented myself and my brother. And so I grew up in a very mind-controlled environment. I was brainwashed to believe many things that were not true. So because I lived through that traumatic, abusive relationship my whole life, from 3 to 16, 17 years old, I believed many things to be true that were not actually true. And I had to wake up at a certain age. When I was 16 years old, I moved to California, and my friends started to notice that I moved sporadically because of whatever my dad decided in those moments. So there were a lot of things I had to cover up because I was very ashamed and embarrassed of what was happening. And I also never looked at it. I never questioned it. Just like you said, many people don't really look at who they are until something like this happens. And when, you know, in high school, your friends are your life. And I had just moved from New Jersey to California. So that was like moving into freaking heaven. It's like, this is my dream, you know? Yeah. And so when they all were like starting to question, they were basically calling me out on the lies. And that, for the first time, put me in a place where I started to look at my life. And I was like, why am I lying? Why am I lying? Why am I lying? It doesn't feel good. Why am I lying? And it was not because of me. It was because of what was happening in my life with my father. So that was a moment where literally I went down the rabbit hole. Everyone has a rabbit hole moment when they awaken. And if you're on your spiritual awakening journey and you're back on your path, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There's a moment in your life where something goes off and you have an opportunity to either go down that rabbit hole or to stay in the life that you've been living and to keep playing the comfortable life, and not make the change. So at 16, I had that moment and I decided to go all the way down the rabbit hole. And when I went down that freaking rabbit hole, it went all the way down to realizing things about my life that really were important, like my relationship with my mom. I grew up thinking she didn't love me. That is a very challenging thing for a child to go through, but I believed it for many things. So when I went down that rabbit hole, I truly found out that none of this is who I am. And all of it was a response, or rather a result of what I had been taught, which affected what I believed. And what I was believing was causing emotions in my body that didn't feel great, which was causing me to do behaviors that were not great. And I started to recognize that, oh my gosh, all of this is affecting me and I don't even know who I am, but I'm not any of this.
And did you start realizing all that by yourself?
Yeah.
Just by all this experience, you started questioning everything and analyzing everything, right? There was not like one or two things or anybody that guided you through that.
No way. Oh my gosh. No way. My higher self, my higher self guided me. Because whatever you believe, you can source. God has many names, but we are that. We are an aspect of that. So looking at where I am now and the understandings I have of the physics of life, it was my higher self. It was always me guiding me. And we all have that aspect inside of us. It's always listening. It's always talking to us. But I think what was so prominent is I think my higher self was trying to talk to me my whole life, but I couldn't actually hear it. So when I heard it and when I saw it, it was like an avalanche. And so I just got on the snowboard and went down the avalanche. I was I wasn't even scared. It was just holy moly. So yeah, it was nobody but my higher self. But then I think after that, I woke up and I decided to face all of this, and I decided I'm going to leave this life. And my father's response to that was something radical, and it caused me to live a life that really required me to either be this that I felt I needed to be, which was my truth, or to play it safe and stay in this manipulation. And I just chose no. So my life led me to going through many challenging moments of being 16, I had to drop out of school. I wasn't provided with an ability to even get there. I started working full time. Everything in my life started to change. And I was being supported by the universe. I was always blessed with opportunities, especially with what many people know me from now in my life, from SoulCycle. I had opportunities to go to that place for free, which ended up being such a community for me to heal. And so if you know about my businesses and the things that I'm doing now, and I'm speaking to this to kind of mention, Steve Jobs says this, you can only put the pieces together when you're looking back. And now that I look back, I see how when I honored myself and I honored my truth, and I believed in that more than anything, I was always held, and I was always supported and taken care of by the universe. So I think, it required me to step out of that. Then when I stepped out of it, there were people. There were books. There were things that my higher self was like, go do this. And it took a team. It takes a team. It takes a village. But nobody can make you walk through the door except you. So I feel really grateful to have walked through the door. And since that 16-year-old self, I've never gone back to that. But when you move forward, those things come up again, right? So it's interesting. I think I've gotten to where I am because I've done this work in myself. After leaving that environment, I had to heal and integrate so much energy from so much PTSD since I was 3 years old, things I had never looked at, So I've done this work. My mother was really helpful. She is deep into yoga, into holistic healing. So she helped me do all this without any medication, without any therapist, without any doctor. I did this with my breath and my body and with all the things that help my clients do. So I know this from experience. I know this from suffering, from PTSD, from anxiety, from stress, from my skin changing because of what was going on, from my body, from me being, so insecure and having a terrible relationship with food. I've done so much to know that this works. And then I've seen it in people who have had many different things and come from many different stories, and they've all been able to do it. So this work of knowing who you are, we're always figuring that out. That's the journey. I think we can get in a rat race when we think I don't know who I am, so I'm fucked. Or I don't know who I am, or so I'm all messed up. It's it's not that black and white. Just listen and be aware. And that's what I do. I teach people how to become conscious, because either way, you're living your life. either unconsciously and repeating the same habits, repeating the same thoughts, repeating the same behaviors, or consciously, where you're noticing, you're making changes, you're doing that work.
And it's all about practice, right? Because some
Yeah.
people might not be as spiritual, or they might not be able to tap into their intuition as easily, right? They're not able to listen to that voice, to that higher self.
Yes.
So as long as they're willing to start that journey,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They can just keep practicing, and this
Yes.
is going to increase. Everything is going to go, basically all the levels are going to go higher, and you're going to
Yes.
be able to tune
Literally.
in better.
Literally activating your energy, activating your DNA. All this information's in your DNA, and just like you can get a disease because you have that gene in your DNA, it's the same thing with healing yourself. We have the G code in us, the God code, source code inside of us. People aren't aware of this, so you literally have everything you need inside of you, and what you believe and what you think and what you do over and over and over and over again is going to affect the energy or the frequency of your body, and that frequency that you hold dictates everything in your life. Everything in your life. So exactly, you're completely right. Whatever you're continuing to practice, whatever you're continuously telling yourself every day, whatever you're continuously feeling, whatever energy you are giving to something is growing that energy. So you, in your brain, the neuroplasticity of your brain, the best ability your brain has is its ability to adapt and change. So think about that. People sometimes are 60. I have clients all ages, you guys, and they come in and they're like, I've been this way my whole life. My kids are 30, 40 years old. How am I ever going to change? I've done all these things. It's like, you can change in a moment. Are you going to wait for it to get as bad as it needs to? Because that's what I did. And then that's what happened. And it was a great change. But you can also change in a state of inspiration.
Yeah.
You can change in a state of joy. So I think people aren't aware of that because we've created a system outside of us that makes people dependent on other things outside of them. So we're not really looking inside. We're taught not to. We're taught, don't listen to that. We're taught that, that's too spiritual. You have to think logically. And it's a society that has pulled us out of our body, and your body holds all the answers.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing your background
Yeah.
and being so vulnerable with us.
Oh, of
I really
course.
appreciate that, and I actually didn't know your backstory. So it's beautiful to see how you grew into this great flower.
Yeah, thank you so much.
But let's focus on the topic for today.
Yeah.
And like you said, we're talking about how you can align your mind, body, and soul.
Yeah.
So why is it so important to keep everything aligned?
Yeah, so that's such a great question. And I think, this is such a big buzzword right now, alignment. It's become such a big word. Why is it important? Well, before we can get into that, you have to understand what you are. Like we just said with the I am consciousness, you literally are consciousness. You are energy incarnate, okay? And I go into this deeper in all of my services. So if you want to learn more, you can, but I'm going to keep it very simple for you. You don't have to understand this, just hear it, okay? You are energy inside of the human body in physical form. This is a dualistic world. We're in a third dimension. There's a lot going on here, okay? So because you are energy or a soul, right, whatever you want to call it, inside of a body, that means your energy is cycling through you. You are moving through your body. And if you are disconnected or separate or fragmented, which can happen in a moment. It can happen, the moment you find out that you can't go to a birthday party and you're 5 years old and your whole end of the world's over and now your heart's out of your body and you're upset. Immediately, that's fragmentation. It doesn't have to be so serious, but it also can be. It also can be that moment your best friend gets hit by a car and he dies or she dies, and how that affects you. Do you understand? So why is it important to be in alignment? Okay, because you have subtle bodies that are designed in your body to filter out every experience you have. Every experience you have outside of your body is an energetic experience that's coming into your body. You are feeling what is happening outside of you, okay? So your body's been naturally designed with 3 subtle bodies. You have an emotional, you have a mental, and you have a physical body. These systems, these bodies inside of you, their job is to naturally process your energy so that you're healthy, you're clean, you're constantly evolving. But the thing is, the human feels something that's uncomfortable. I don't want to feel it. Now energy's getting stuck. Now I don't want to feel it. I don't want to feel it. More energy is going to build, right? Whatever you don't give energy to is going to suppress and get stronger. So if you are choosing to not feel what happens for you, let's say it's very freaking emotional and it's really hard to handle, then it's getting stuck in your body. And the more you ignore it, the denser it becomes. And the more you push down the density, you guys, that's how you create disease. That's how you create illness. That's how you create the stuff in your body. So why is it important to be in alignment?
And you can see it, right?
You can see it.
See it in your body. Sometimes it just changes. You get rushes, right? Your stomach might hurt.
Yeah. Yeah. And think about it, you guys. Why is it important to be in alignment? Because that way, if you're not in alignment, you are not flowing in harmony within your own self. You're not a clear channel. You're not even connected in the way that you can be. You're not in your sovereignty or in your resonance or in your power, as many people say. That's what that actually means. Some people say it, but they're not actually aware of what that means. You truly have to be in alignment. You have to be in yourself. You have to be in your heart. You have to be in your power. And the way you are doing that is because your mind, your heart, and your body are in coherence, okay? Quantum physics talks a lot about the brain and the heart coherence, them being in alignment, okay? But it's not just your brain and your heart. It's also your body, because you're a physical being. So some people, something traumatic happens in their life, and then the food becomes their way of not feeling their emotions, right? And their body then is the emotional body that is holding on to that. Does that make sense? And then for someone else, their emotions, their sister gets killed or something, and then the father's like, stop crying about it to the son. And then he never feels his emotions. Does that make sense? Now he's not processing that in his emotional body. So what does he do when he gets his emotions? He's gonna maybe drink. He's gonna smoke. He's gonna do something to not feel that energy because he learned he couldn't. Does that make sense?
To alleviate the pain.
And the same thing with a false belief. If we're talking about the mental body, right? Somebody says to you, "You're stupid. You can never do this. You can't even read." Then this person grows up with an image of themselves that they're stupid and they can't read. So therefore, they attract relationships in their life that are abusive because they believe they're not worth it. They can't speak their truth. They can't honor themselves because they hold a belief in their brain that is literally running the program or running the system in their body and their emotions, and is causing them to be in this redundant way of being, and they don't know why. They think something's wrong with them. And nobody's teaching this information in the majority of society's healing mechanisms. Even holistic people sometimes aren't teaching this.
Isn't Charlie so inspirational? We were both so honest and true with each other during this discussion. We spoke about how some special people can be a pillar of light to let others express their own light and confidence. Charlie explained how she can show people how important consciousness is and that it is stored inside all of us. It seems that we're all consciousness inside a human body, and all we need to do is learn how to navigate through it. We're all on our own journey of getting to know who we are, and sometimes it might be overwhelming, but Charlie reminds us that we need to listen and be mindful. One of the great things that Charlie said was that we have so much power inside of us. We need to just tap into our higher self and notice what is happening in our life now at this very moment. Find the courage and experience those breakthrough moments. Make a decision today on whether you want to keep believing in everything that you have been taught so far in life, or try to challenge those beliefs and build your own. I loved the topic of alignment because this is one of the great things that will help us find some peace in the chaos. It really is insane to first realize that when you're not in alignment, you could physically get sick. For some reason, it really is hard for us to comprehend that deep connection between the mind and soul. It's hard for us to realize that the way we react to our emotions can have a direct impact on the body since we're physical beings. All we need to do is realize that we have the power to react to what happens to us. This was just part one of the lovely conversation we had with Charlie Sage on how to align our mind, body, and soul. I hope you stay tuned for part 2, which will be released the second Tuesday of the following month. To learn more about Namaste City and this podcast, please visit namastecitylife.com and feel free to drop us a message by visiting the Contact Us page. You can also follow Namaste City on Instagram or Facebook. If you have not already done so, please go to Apple Podcasts and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. Thank you for listening to No More Distractions by Namaste City, hosted by me, Sonia. Today's episode guest was Charlie Sage from Project Align. You can connect with her through her personal account at I am Charlie Sage and her community at Project Align, or visit www.iamcharliesage.com. The audio, video production, and web application services was done by Technology, spelled with a K. If you're in need of tech help like me, go to technology.works. Technology that just works. It's there for you when you need it. The interview portion of this episode was recorded at Sweven Podcast Studios in Hoboken, New Jersey. Thanks again for listening, and join us again next month for another episode of No More Distractions.